Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series. We cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, today's chapters are Hosea 8 and 9. Now, we need a picture at this point the prophet who's been called to warn a people in the darkest days of Israel's history. Imagine being in that boat. Imagine trying to turn a community who doesn't want to hear, who's going headlong into oblivion. And so he's reaching for all sorts of pictures and symbols to try and lurch people out of their madness. He says this in verse 1, "Put a trumpet to your lips." Remember, trumpets in those days were used to summons people to war, to sound the alarm. And so he says, put a trumpet to your lips. An eagle is over the house of the Lord, because the people have broken covenant and rebelled against my law. What does it mean, an eagle overhead? Well, that could mean various things. Some people have thought that meant the Babylonian army, or even in the future, the Roman army. The eagle was a symbol of the Roman army. But an eagle speaks of ominous danger. An eagle is swift, and he's basically saying, it's urgent. It's urgent. I'm telling you, stop walking in the direction you're walking right now, because calamity lies ahead. He said, now, let me tell you the things that you're doing, because you might not have seen them. You're setting up kings without my consent. Picking the wrong leaders, whether you picking the wrong leaders in a work environment, whether it's in a church environment, and in this instance, a national environment, it's hazardous, because leaders take the people somewhere. With their silver and gold, they make idols. So in other words, with your wealth, spend your energy, spend your time on stuff that's idolatrous. Our money enables us to do things. And he's basically saying it's enabling us in the wrong direction. Samaria, throw away your calf idol. He's saying, you know that calf that you've made, that you're bowing down to worship, chuck it away. Metal workers have made it. It's not God. Come to your senses. Why are you devoting your whole life over that thing? Why is your treasure going there? Because your heart follows your treasure. Remember, Jesus said that. He says, they sow to the wind and reap a whirlwind. I mean, that's interesting. They're basically saying, you're playing with fire, you're playing with wind, but it's like a whirlwind that's going to catch you and throw you up. He says, you don't realize what you're sowing to now. It's a good question to ask ourselves, isn't it? What are we sowing to? In other words, what are we investing in? Because like a whirlwind, wrap you up. It's a good question to stop and answer these questions. The stalk has no head, it'll produce no flower. The thing you're investing in, he's basically saying, it's not going to feed you. They've gone up to Assyria like a wild donkey going alone. You don't want to walk alone. You want to walk with God. You want to walk with his people. And then he changes the metaphor and he says, you sold yourself like a lover, like a prostitute. And we've used that imagery a lot in the last couple of chapters, haven't we? Don't rejoice, Israel, he says in chapter 9. Do not be jubilant like other nations, for you have been unfaithful to your God. I think one of the most unhappy people in the whole world are Christians, those who've tasted something of God and have backslidden. Because you can't really rejoice like the world. You can't throw it all away, because you know God is there. You know what's right. He's saying, don't pretend. Don't pretend that I'm there waiting for you. Threshing floors and wine presses will not feed the people. The way that you're leading the people now is not going to take care of the next generation. I heard a guy say this the other day. He said, you know, when church and the kingdom becomes optional to the mom and dad, it becomes irrelevant to the children. So in other words, don't kid yourself. What you're doing now is not going to feed your kids. You're going down a hazardous road. They will not remain in the Lord's land. They're going to go to Egypt. So in other words, he's saying, remember like you went to Egypt? Well, you're going to be going off to Babylon. You're going to be taken back into slavery the way you're going right now. And he says, punishment is coming. Let Israel know. Remember, he goes back to the beginning again now. Blow the trumpet. Let them know. Because of your sins, the prophet is considered a fool. Even your wise guys. I mean, I'm down here in Cape Town. The academics here at Cape Town University think they're so wise. But actually, the wisdom of these profs is foolishness. When their departure point, when their starting point is anti-God, isn't it? They've sunk into deep corruption. Ephraim's glory will fly away like a bird. No birth, no pregnancy, no conception. He's basically saying, your fruitfulness along this course of action, no conception, no birth, no fruitfulness. I feel for this prophet as he's shouting at obstinate people. But allow the word to sift our hearts. I know we're not in the position of Israel right now, but allow him to sift our hearts, because our hearts can stray so easily.